right, and welcome back to the balance. I think I got it fixed, Rick. Are you still with us, sir?
I am. I was getting ready to send you a text. So that music you just played is nothing but static.
I'm glad you told me that. So we'll just stop touching things for a little bit here. Let's just get back into the show here. I know today is the last show of 2018. Let's talk a little bit about some New Year's resolutions. Rick, do you have any New Year's resolutions? Come on. You got to have something.
I don't really make resolutions, man. I just keep doing what I'm doing. I'm pretty happy.
Just keep doing what you're doing.
I just drink more beer and gain more weight.
Why don't we all just be honest with ourselves and say that's exactly what we're going to do? We're going to drink more alcohol, eat more unhealthy food, do everything that we should not do for ourselves. Why do we make these false promises to ourselves at the end of the year of every year? I have no idea. Obviously, we've got a couple more days before 2019 rolls in. You know, I'd like to see a lot of different health changes. I could probably get healthier, that's for sure. There's, things on the horizon that I like to see come being bared, I guess. And certainly we hope that the balance will be a much better show going on our first show in 2019 than our last show in 2018. Talk a little bit about some of your top 2018 moments, if you will. If you guys have anything that you want to talk about, 917-898-8516 is our digits. So we'll kind of use your list right now, Rick. We'll just kind of go down from that. Obviously, I know you talked a little bit about Tua here in today's game against Oklahoma. I think everybody would like to see Alabama get swept underneath the rug by Oklahoma. Nick Saban does a very good job of playing mind games, not only with his team, but with the media. Says everybody overrates us, nobody really respects us. That is a bunch of hogwash if you can't see through that. But nonetheless, one of the best moments of 2018 was Tua comes into the second half and wins a national title. Let's talk about that, because if you look at it, I mean, again, I'm going to go back to looking at just the Heisman candidates and looking at the plays, the games that have happened post Heisman Trophy. You got to look at things that still support my argument that the Heisman Trophy should happen after all of the regular season college football action is done. But nonetheless, let's talk a little bit about Tua. Obviously, huge beast for Alabama. Let's talk a little bit about that moment last year in 2018.
Well, I mean,
or this year in 2018, but you know what I mean. Last championships.
Yeah. Well, if I could just, if there's any Star Wars nerds listening right now, I want to play to you a little bit, because really it's like the Force, and it's like everything in Star Wars, where Tua in that game came in the second half because Jalen Hurts just couldn't pass the ball, and he brings Alabama back, and they win the game in overtime. And where Star Wars comes in is everything goes full circle, because of the Force, everything is even. We saw in the SEC championship game, the last game of the season for Alabama this year, and we're still talking 2018. Tua goes down at halftime. Jalen Hurts comes in the second half and brings Alabama back against Georgia. So everything's come full circle, with Alabama. They had two great quarterbacks. I don't really have thoughts about Tua coming in and winning that national championship game. I thought it was really cool for a freshman to do it. I found myself rooting for him when I was watching that game back in January, as much as that kills me to say, rooting for Alabama, just because he was a true freshman coming in that spot and getting the job done. I thought it was really cool. And we've even talked before this year, and Tom still has no idea what I'm talking about, but Tua is the contra code for Alabama. When he's in the game, they are on a different level, But we saw Jalen Hurts do the same thing in the SEC championship game against Georgia, brought them back, and they were down by a couple of scores, came back and won. So it's like Star Wars to Alabama. It's like the Force. Everything is even. It's all full circle.
May the force be with you. And so we'll see what happens. And I don't think that anybody is going to rule out Alabama until Alabama has ruled out themselves. Let's talk a little bit about the Music City Bowl yesterday. Auburn comes in and just stomps Purdue, and not really a big surprise there. I don't think anybody really thought that Purdue could beat Auburn, but I was really kind of looking at Purdue where they came. And one of the big highlights that we wanted to talk about from 2018 is the slacking that Purdue put on Ohio State. Certainly two different games than what we saw yesterday in the Auburn against Auburn in the Music City Bowl down in Nashville. Another great game there. Two great games there this weekend, not too far from you. Talk with us a little bit about Auburn just coming in and just schooling and owning the Purdue Boilermakers.
Yeah, I think a week or two ago we actually talked about this matchup coming up. I think I actually picked Purdue because maybe I was on this hangover maybe from that Ohio State game and how great Purdue looked. And Jeff Brom, their head coach, how great of a head coach he is. Louisville, it was really pursuing him to be the head coach there, and he picks to stay at Purdue. And with Purdue, you have the Tyler Trent, with the he's battling his illness, his fight with cancer and everything. And that is really like the second half of the season for Purdue. Purdue football has had a different feel with Tyler Trent being involved. I don't know if it's a great story, if that's the right words. It's a really touching, heartwarming story. We're kind of all in the fight together, Tyler Trent, while he goes through his battle with his sickness. But Purdue has just been a different team since that Ohio State game and Tyler Trent being there and supporting the Boilermakers through all that. And, the whole country's got behind like Tyler Trent and Purdue, I think, in a way, because of his fight. So, to me, I thought Purdue would show up in the Music City Bowl, and I was way wrong about that. But I think it's a little bit of that hangover I was feeling too. And just being in Tyler Trent's corner, I was really pulling for Purdue.
Well, let's look ahead at Purdue for just a moment going into 2019. Obviously decides that he's going to stay there with the Purdue Boilermakers. We saw an surging Purdue Boilermaker squad at the beginning of the year. I think we saw a tale of two different cities. And also we look at IU. Obviously, anytime that we talk about Purdue, we want to talk about IU. The only reason that Purdue was in a bowl game was because they beat IU and had that happen the other way around in the old Oaken Bucket, which a lot of people thought that IU could have beat Purdue. So maybe we're starting to see a turnaround, if you will, between these two squads. But let's look ahead into 2019. What does Braun got to do to get the Purdue Boilermakers back on the tracks? No pun intended.
Well, they can't be an 8-4 team. That can only go for so long, and then the fans get restless. They're going to have to be a 10-win team. Maybe make a New Year's Six bowl. Maybe it's not that extreme, but they can't be an 8-4 team. They definitely cannot get off to the start next season like they did this year, losing their first 4 in a row, or whatever it is. I think it was they started 0-3 before they finally got a win against a cupcake team or something like that. They can't do that next year. This was an embarrassing game. Yes, this was embarrassing for Purdue, and I even question now if Jeff Brom is the head coach that we think that he is. If he's really that head coach, if he's just another average guy that Purdue brings in every few years, or if he's a great coach, because I don't know yet. I'm questioning that after that game yesterday. I know it was against Auburn, but Auburn is down this year too. That game should not have turned out that way. Now I'm starting to question Brom.
Well, and maybe he's questioning himself as well, and maybe he believes that he's just an average coach because it turns out that he turned down the coaching position down in Louisville. It would be pretty embarrassing for him to get down there and have the kind of game or season that he had against Auburn yesterday. So we'll let it go. Let's slide. I mean, it was Auburn, and let's not make any bones about it. Auburn's a damn good team. So anyway, we'll see what happens in the 2019 squad, if you will. So let's talk a little bit about going on with your list. UMBC beat Virginia first. A 16 beat a number 1. Thoughts on that as we ready, not literally ready, but we're getting closer to March Madness as well.
Yeah, that was got a special place in my heart because I was actually at the first and second round tournament games in Nashville, and I think Texas and Nevada was playing against each other. I was at the stadium, the Bridgestone Arena, watching an NCAA game. But when that news hits on your cell phones that you know, UMBC is up on Virginia in the second half, well, then you go out to these concourses there in the Bridgestone Arena and start watching this game on TV. I think there was more people out in the concourses watching that game on TV than watching the actual NCAA tournament games going on in the stadium. So that was a really cool experience, and seeing that and being at an NCAA tournament game and watching another one on TV was kind of unique. It's a really cool experience, and so got to do that. That was really neat. And watching you knew it was going to happen eventually. A 16 beating a 1, you just didn't know. And it made sense that it'd be Virginia, the one that does it, that was going to be the one to lose. They're really good. They're a great defensive team. They've never been a great offensive team, and that's the problem. They're a really boring team for a 1.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and it was bound to happen. So that was an exciting game. It's amazing how we just forget about little things like that as we get going on through the year. Maybe one of the things that we also forget. Go ahead.
Yeah, not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but you figure that if a 16 beat a 1, it might be a last second shot or just something real close, but it wasn't. It ended up being like a 20-something point blowout. So it was shocking in that way too.
Yeah, absolutely, and let's not forget this was a pretty exciting March Madness, if you will, and all kinds of bracket busters. It's amazing, like I said, that how we forget about things like that. Let's talk a little bit about next on your list here. You got LeBron to the Lakers. Not really a big surprise. I think we thought that he would go to L.A. and into World Championship in year one. That's happening. Clearly, he's injured now, and let's talk a little bit about how much LeBron James gets to get away with, if you will, just because he's LeBron James, not only on the court, but as we saw here recently, off the court with some of his Instagram and Twitter things about lyrics that were clearly very, 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 very racist. And I'm just curious on your thoughts on that because he's LeBron James, we say it's okay for him to say, "Oh, I just didn't know that was racist." How could you not know? You're one of the leading foregoing people that calls everybody a racist. LeBron James, I think, just really cast a shadow on himself. And another reason why I just, maybe overrated is not the right word to use for LeBron James because he certainly is a very great player. Certainly one of the best that's ever played the game. We'll give him that, but at the same time, that does not give him the credit to the privilege or the entitlement to just go out there and say and do whatever you want off the court, and not to mention on the court. But yeah, big news in 2018. LeBron leaves the Cavaliers. Cavaliers have pretty much dismantled and are a trash can fire at the moment. It's not hard to point to where the success was with Cleveland Cavaliers, and that was LeBron James. But I'm not seeing that carry over to the L.A. Lakers. I think he's going to have to be more than just LeBron James to get the L.A. Lakers to an NBA championship.
Well, they're a playoff team right now. I mean, we got a long way to go still, but right now they are one of the top 8 teams in the West. My thoughts about LeBron going to the Lakers was, instead of him just losing to the Warriors in the finals, now he gets to lose to them all season long. I know they just beat them on Christmas pretty good, but that's not really that important of a game as far as the Warriors go. That game meant everything to the Lakers and nothing to the Warriors. So that's what I just attribute to that game. But he gets to lose to them all season long now, being in the West. So, and about his tweet, I know we're in the butthurt society and everything's bubble wrapped, but if you're quoting lyrics to a song, to me that is not racism. I mean, you racist or well, no, there's a context to this stuff, and you just can't get butthurt over it at every little thing. And honestly, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, man. I love the rap music from there. Yes, I will admit that I'm